Obina and Nkem were the kind of couple you greet with congratulations, even when there is nothing to congratulate, because they made marriage look like roasted corn and pear, sweet and simple. They rented a single room with a small parlor in a long, noisy compound where everybody owned a plastic chair, a rubber bucket, and a PhD in monitoring other people's business. In that compound, time did not move by months, it moved by bellies. You don't enter month 7 since wedding. Auntie Peace would announce at the well like she worked for a fertility radio station. Any good news, neighbors? She said, neighbors, but her eyes were on Nkem's stomach like it owed her money. Nkem laughed it off at first. She was softness with iron inside, fine boned, quick to smile, quicker to roll her eyes when the nonsense started. Obina was a quiet doer. He worked at a phone accessory shop across the main road and came back smelling of nylon, charger head, and hot sun. Their room was small but lively. Curtains sewn from Ankara leftover, a fan that could only turn left, never right. It had politics. A radio forever tuned to high life, and a nail on the wall where they hung their hopes. A baby romper Nkem had bought on a discount because, abeg, it's cute. Faith is not expensive. Month 9 after their wedding, Mama Obina visited with a bag of oranges and surveillance. My children, I just came to check on you people and greet, and also to pray small, she said, already removing a prayer scarf from her handbag like a police officer upholstering a torchlight. Amen, Mama. Nkem smiled, going to fetch water. Mama followed with the oranges, with the scarf, with vigilance. The prayer started fine and finished like village announcement. Any spirit, the main fruit of the womb, pack your load. Mama's voice rose above the ceiling fan protest. Every python swallowing children, vomit. The fan chose that moment to swing right for the first time ever, looked at Mama and swung back left again. After Mama left, Obina held Nkem's hand. Babe, sorry. You know Mama, she carries megaphone and Bible together. I know, Nkem said, but if I hear python near my belly again, I will fry it and eat it with Gary. They laughed and sat in silence that always followed the laughter these days, the kind of silence that counts days. A year passed, the compound kept score like Premier League. Auntie Peace, now to keep faith. See me, I prayed, my own came in the second year. The tailor in room 6. Drink okra water in the morning, it greases things. He said it with authority. His wife hissed from inside. Nkem did her best to stay light. She greeted, she cooked, she adjusted her wrapper, and mind her business. But even the pot knows when aunts are discussing. Sundays became hardest. Somebody's child will run through the corridor, pushing a yellow toy car and pack it at Nkem's feet as if dropping a prophecy. Obina tried to build a house of jokes around them. Baby, see as I am becoming an uncle to the whole compound. Soon they'll start paying me school fees. Colette, Nkem said, let us use it to buy more beans. By year 2, the jokes were fewer. Money was not tight, it was suffocating. IVF sounded like buying a plot in Banana Island. Even tests sounded like trouble to their pockets, but they went for basic checks at the clinic. The nurse spoke gently. Her eyes had seen too many couples like them. She handed them forms and plastic cups and told them, don't worry. In that way, that made worry sit down and fold its arms. They agreed, privately, to keep that step between themselves for now. In the compound, every small trip becomes headline. Even their small arguments became radio. One evening, Nkem corrected Obina for buying sachet milk instead of tea. And by morning, the compound had upgraded the gist to, she is disrespecting him. She shouted, who knows what she is hiding? Hide what? Nkem laughed Obina when he told her, if I had anything in this compound, children will find it. At night, when the generator in room 9 coughed off and darkness settled like a wrapper, they lay on their mattress and whispered with foreheads touching. You still sure about this? Us, Obina asked. Leave me, Joe. Nkem breathed, smiling in the dark. We are not Akara. We won't finish. But Nkem felt the pressure like weight on her shoulder. not just from the compound, from the family chats too. Those aunties that send good morning devotional and when are we carrying our grandson in the same breath. The day mama sent a voice note, that began with I dreamt it, Nke muted her for peace of mind and future relationship. The next time mama visited, she came with a famous prayer woman from church, Sister Scholastica, who carried a bell inside her bag. When she rang it, sister said, "Angels, wake up!" Angels no dey sleep, ma. Obina tried. She smiled, yes, but saw my heavy sleepers. They prayed till the bell lost courage. After sister prescribed 40 days of midnight psalms and no cold water, mama added, and stop fried plantain for now. That one pained Nkem more than the midnight psalms. Later that week, as the sun slid down and the compound came alive with blazing and gossip, Nkem walked past Auntie Peace and the tailor's wife. They paused mid-gist. Auntie Peace raised her voice like microphone. Some women would just be forming fine inside emptiness. Nkem turned. Auntie Peace, good evening. Evening, my dear. Auntie Peace smiled, lips thin. How market? Market is moving. We're expecting container. Nkem said sweetly and kept walking. The tailor's wife burst into laughter that sounded like a clapback. That night, Nkem placed the small baby romper back on his knee, smoothed it with careful fingers, then sat beside Obina. Let's do the full test, she said. All of it. Whatever we need to check, let's check. Obina nodded, eyes on her face. We'll do it together. Together, she agreed, even as something in her chest pinched, a small fear she could not shame. She leaned on his shoulders, and they sat like that, two people building a boat with jokes and prayer while the compound waited by the river, counting calendars. Outside, a child somewhere shouted, "Mommy, see me," and laughed into the evening. Nkem closed her eyes and whispered, "Soon," then opened them and squared her shoulders. Tomorrow would be hospital. Tonight would be sleep. And in between, there would be one more round of ignore the compound. On their wall, the fan clicked and bravely swung right again, as if to say, I'm trying. The hospital smelled of Dettol and disappointment. Obina and Nkem sat side by side on the long wooden bench, staring at the door that led to the lab. Nkem's heart was doing marathon. Obina's leg was drumming Fuji on the floor. When the nurse finally came out with 2 brown envelopes, she gave them the kind of smile that meant, I pity you people, but it's not my business. She called their names, Mr. and Mrs. Obina. Results are ready. They scruffled in. The doctor adjusted his glasses, cleared his throat, and pointed at the papers. His words floated in the room like a funeral hymn. Madam, you are fine. Nothing is wrong. Obina's shoulders relaxed. He was ready to shout hallelujah until the next line landed like thunder. Sir, you have low sperm count. The room went silent. Obina blinked. He had low spare parts. He wished it was spare parts. At least he saw that in his shop. Doctor, he tried, his voice thin. So you mean I'm not? The doctor signed. It will be very difficult without medical intervention. IVF maybe, but it is expensive. Nkem sat still, her wrapper tight on her lap. The thing she had prayed not to hear, she had just heard. But instead of crying, she looked at Obina's face and saw a small boy. Inside, her husband scared stiff. Doctor, thank you, she said firmly, dragging Obina's hand. We'll manage. Outside, Obina wanted to explain himself. Nkem, I beg, don't see me as a failure. Shut up, Joe, she caught him. You're not the first man to have this problem. You think sperm is Gary that must swell? We'll find way. He laughed shakily. That laugh carried them back to the compound. But in the compound, Wahala was already waiting. Mama Obina stormed in the next week with 2 aunties and their prayer shawls. She started without greeting. My son, time is going. Children are the crown of marriage. Do you want people to laugh at me in the women's meeting? One auntie added. These days, girls do family planning before they even have family. Who knows what your wife has swallowed? Nkem felt her ear ringing. She wanted to shout, "Na your son, no," but she kept quiet. Obina opened his mouth to defend her, but his brother silenced him with a Bible slap on the table. That night, when the visitors left, Obina lay on the bed, staring at the ceiling. Nkem, what do we do? She turned her face serious. We already know the truth, but are we ready to tell them? No, Obinna said, shaking his head violently. They will eat me raw. Silence fell again. It stretched until Obinna sat up suddenly, as if a spirit gave him idea. Wait, what if you just find a way to get pregnant? That's all we need. A child. Nkem froze. Find a way? Which way? Am I buying a baby Nobo at the market? I mean, he scratched his head. Maybe meet someone just once, get belle, nobody will know. At least they will shut up. Nkem stared at him as if he just grew feathers. Obinna, are you okay? You're telling me to carry public pregnancy. Who do you even suggest? Your best customer. He held her hand, desperation leaking from his pores. Baby, please. I can't lose you. I can't lose us. I don't care who. I just want to be called Papa. Nkem hissed and stood. She paced the room, wrapper flying, so that one day somebody will point at me and say, see this woman that borrowed child. Obinna, do you know the insult? He got up and hugged her from behind. I swear nobody will know. I will never ask who. Just give me one child, Nkem. One. Let them shut up. His voice broke at the end, and something in her chest melted. She turned slowly, searching his eyes. They were red, not from anger, but from shame. She sighed, okay, but if we do this, it is our secret. You will never ever use it against me. He nodded like lizard on a mango tree. Never, I swear on top of my charger shop. Better swear on top of your life, she muttered. That night, they lay side by side in silence. Nkem closed her eyes and whispered, God, see my life. Is this marriage or assignment? Outside the compound, carried on with its evening gist, one neighbor was shouting at her husband for not buying tomatoes. Another was announcing in full volume, pregnancy no dey hide. If e show, e show. If e no show, e no show. The words floated through the thin walls, stabbing like needles. Nkem pulled her wrapper over her head. Tomorrow was another day, but tonight, she had made a decision that would change everything. For 3 days, Nkem moved like a person carrying a glass cup on her head. Carefully, she made a list no one could see. Safety first, secrecy second, shame last. If they were going to break a taboo, they would not break their brains with it. She told Obinna the rules in a calm accountant voice. No romance, only results. Health check must be clear, no stories. He will never ask for a name. And if it happens, they will pray like nothing happened. Obinna nodded at every line as if his neck was on installment payment. Agreed. Oh, I won't even ask for the person's shoe size. Now behold, the world is big, but secret fell when they travel. Traveling to Sokoto was impossible. Traveling to the next street was risky. And then there was the neighbor factor. Close enough to verify health. Near enough to keep logistics simple. Yet, far enough in relationship not to invite drama. Neighbor sounded dangerous until Nkem remembered Emeka in room 3. Bachelor, quiet, gym addicted, like he was preparing for Mr. Compound. He worked in a pharmacy down the road, the type that locked medicine with 2 keys. He had tapped her once when she reacted to fish pepper soup and had insisted on a test before giving drugs. Responsible, cautious, tested. Nkem hated the idea. Hated it like Vitamin. But the more she weighed it, the more it looked like the least wrong road on a bad map. She didn't tell Obinna the name, rule number 3. Instead, she told him the method. I'll handle the health check personally. You handle not panicking. Copy, Obinna said, saluting with a spoon. The spoon fell. They laughed too loudly and then went quiet, remembering what they were laughing about. 2 weeks later, on a Wednesday, that smell of rain, Nkem executed her plan. There were no violin, no romance, no foolishness, just trusted, respect and boundaries, like signing a contract you wish didn't exist. Before anything, every health paper was verified, no shortcut. God forbid replacing a lab result when it was done. She went home and washed her hands like a surgeon, then sat on the edge of the bed and cried without noise. Obinna sat beside her, unable to hold her because his gratitude and guilt were fighting inside him. Thank you, he whispered. Don't thank me, she said, wiping her face. Just don't ever turn this against me. I won't, he promised. The fan clinked, swung right in solidarity, then back left like gossiping. Days turned into calendars. Nkem didn't watch symptoms. She watched the rice bag to distract herself. Then one morning, the walls smelled like boiled yam and the ground moved small. She ran to the bathroom, then came back with eyes wide and a shaky smile. Obi, he stood, mouth open. Nkem, I think he didn't let her finish. He began to dance like a phone on vibration. Then he stopped, put two fingers together and said, "But we must test. We can't be jumping like rabbits." They tested. 2 lines. Jesus! Obina shouted, then remembered the compound had reduced the volume. Jesus! That evening, Obina bought malt and milk and pure joy. Nkem, cautious, kept her wrapper tied and her mouth small. But joy has smell. The compound sniffed it. Auntie Peace cornered her at the tap. Nkem, you're glowing, oh. Which cream? Psalm 23, Nkem said. It moisturizes from inside. Within a week, the rumor matured from "she's glowing" to "her eyes are bright" to "she's pregnant." Mama arrived with prayers and pepper soup that could resuscitate a lizard. This time, the prayers were gentle, full of thanksgiving and strategic tears. My daughter Mama said, squeezing Nkem's hands, "Your womb has opened like shop on Monday." Nkem smiled, "Amen, Mama." The compound turned into party committee. The tailor offered to sew free maternity gowns if she named the child after his mother. The barber promised first haircut for free on the condition that the child had hair. Children lined up to rub her belly like ATM. Obina became Mr. Provider overnight. They repaired the corridor bulb, tightened one loose tap, and bought granules for everyone. He didn't say a word about the hospital results or the secret. He simply wore pride like a new shirt. When somebody called him daddy, he answered. When somebody asked, boy or girl, he said child. At night, he and Nkem spoke in code and silence. Gratitude sat between them, heavy and warm. Guilt hovered at the door, but they refused to invite it in. By the second trimester, Nkem walked like a queen with a careful crown. When the baby kicked, she gasped and laughed. "See our child doing Opekete dance." Our child, Obina echoed, eyes wet. Naming discussions started like political campaign. Mama proposed Chisom for a girl, Somtochukwu for a boy. Obina wanted Kamsi. Nkem kept quiet. Her mind was on a healthy bed, not hashtags. The delivery came on a breezy Saturday. No dramatic thunder, just midwives who knew their onions and a baby who announced himself with a cry that sounded like "bring milk." A boy, red, beautiful, furious at the cold. Obina cried openly. He forgot the compound and wailed thanksgiving. Neighbors clapped from corridors. Mama danced in circles, rapper threatening to resign. They named him Kamsi at the church. And the compound turned into an award show. Gifts arrived, diapers, soaps, one suspicious rattle with a face. Returned to the sender. The barber framed a photo of the baby with the comb design. The tenor insisted the boy already looked like Obina from the eyebrows. Another neighbor said, "He has Nkem's mouth." A third declared, "He looks like my late uncle." Everyone agreed the child was theirs, collectively. Nkem watched them with a soft smile and a guarded heart. She loved her son with a love that could lift a house. She loved her husband with a love that had learned to carry secret. The plan had worked, but plans have long shadows. In the corner of her mind, a small worry stood up like a student stretching leg. For now, there was only one baby breath, pepper soup and joy. The gossip radio played praise for once. Even the fan, faithful town crier, swung right and kept swinging as if to say, "For this season, let there be light." For the first year, life was sweet like ripe mango. Baby Kamsi cries filled the room, and every tear was a badge of parenthood. Nkem glowed, not the fake used cream glow, but the type that came from midnight feeding and still managing to cook beans before sunrise. Obina too carried himself like a king, chest out, smile wild. The compound, they turned choir. Every evening, someone would stop by to sing praises of the child. See nose, pure copy of Obina. Chai, see the head shape is from the mother. No, check the ears now from Mama Obina's lineage. Even Auntie Peace, the loudspeaker of room 4, reduced her gossip to whisper when Kamsi's name entered. Babies were the only thing that silenced suspicion in the compound for a while, but as the boy grew, the silence started cracking. By age 2, the resemblance question came like NEPA lights, on, off, then on again. The child fine, no doubt, one neighbor said at the well, but who exactly does he resemble? Another answered quickly, Grandpa. Children sometimes jump generation, or they jump father entirely. The woman laughed, their basin shaking on their head. Enkay heard them one evening when she came to fetch water. She smiled tightly and carried her bucket like a queen who didn't owe anybody resemblance. By Kamsi's 4th birthday, the whispers became bold. Emeka, the neighbor in room 3, the same one who had quietly been minding his own business, suddenly started acting like Santa Claus on salary. He would buy biscuits, balloons, even carry the boy on his shoulders to school. At first, Nkem allowed it. After all, children loved attention. But then his tone changed. One afternoon in front of half of the compound, Emeka shouted, "Bring down my son." I said, "Put him down." Obinna froze, carried Kamsi in his hand. "Your what?" "My son," Emeka thundered. "Don't carry him like that. That boy is mine. You people should stop deceiving yourselves." The corridor scattered. Bucket dropped. Taylor's wife covered her mouth like she was watching Z-Roll. Emeka, Obinna backed, his eyes wide. "Are you mad? This child is mine." Emeka pointed a trembling finger. "DNA will settle it. I am ready for test. If you refuse, I will call police. I will even go to court." The air thickened, people gasped, Auntie Peace muttered, "Ah, so the compound movie has reached part 2? Nkem felt her stomach twist. She pulled Kamsi behind her like a shield, her eyes darting between two men. Emeka's face was stiff with certainty. Obinna's face was storm, anger, fear, and something else under the thundercloud. That night, Obinna didn't eat. He paced the room, chest rising and falling like generator engine. Finally, he sat Nkem down. "Babe, talk true. Who is the person you met?" Her heart dropped. She whispered, "But you said you didn't want to know." "That time has passed," Obinna snapped and softened. "Look, Emeka is shouting up and down, threatening DNA. I need to know so I can plan, please." Nkem looked at her husband, the man she had carried this secret with. Slowly, she nodded. Yes, it was him. Obinna's eyes widened. "Neighbor, in this same compound. Jesus, Nkem, why not somebody far? Why not travel?" She defended herself, voice trembling. "I wanted to be safe. I couldn't just go with a stranger. I needed to be sure of his health, to avoid disease. At least, I trusted Emeka's papers." Obinna buried his face in his palm. "So I'm sharing salt, water, and sperm count with my neighbor. Nkem, you have finished me." She raised his arm. "But we agreed. You told me to do this. You said you didn't care who." "Yes, but not the man next door," he shouted. "Now see he's claiming the child." Silence wrapped them for a moment. Then Obinna signed a long sign that emptied his chest. He rubbed his shoulder. "Don't worry, we'll find a way. Leave Emeka to me. I'll shut him down." Nkem nodded, though her chest still trembled. She trusted her husband. The next morning, Emeka stood at the compound gate with 2 policemen. He shouted, "If they don't produce my son, we are going to the station." The neighbor poured out like ants to sugar. Mama Obinna arrived too, shocked, demanding answers. Obinna stepped forward, calm as palm wine. "Officer, no problem, we'll handle this matter. No need to drag family name in public." The policemen grumbled and left, but the whispers didn't leave. By evening, the compound was already dissecting the matter in different versions. Emeka is right. The boy has his eyes. Obinna is pretending. I hear things. Nkem, that one, she looks too quiet. Quiet people, na them they shock you pass. Nkem shut the window, sat on the bed, and buried her face in her hand. She whispered to herself, "God, what have I done?" Obinna sat beside her, stroking her back gently. "Don't worry, Nkem, I'll fix this. Trust me." For 3 nights, Obinna hardly slept. He would lie on the mattress, staring at the zinc roof as if angels were spelling out strategies there. By day, he smiled and acted calm. By night, he twisted and turned like akara frying in hot oil. Nkem noticed, "Obi, your mind is far. What are you thinking?" He forced a smile. "Don't worry, I've got it under control. Emeka won't disturb us again." The compound was boiling. Emeka walked around with his shoulders high, as if the compound was now his inheritance. Neighbors whispered louder. Mama Obina wept louder, and Nkem's own parents began sending subtle messages like, "My daughter, we hope you are keeping yourself well in marriage." Obina finally called Nkem one night, his voice steady. "Babe, listen. The only way to silence Emeka is to trap him. We'll make it look like he tried to force himself on you. We'll get video evidence, then use it to shut him up forever. He won't be able to claim Kamsi again." Nkem blinked. Pause. Obi, that's a serious thing to accuse somebody of. Shh. He pressed a finger on her lips. "It's just acting. Don't you trust me?" She hesitated, then nodded slowly. "Okay, if this is the only way." The plan was simple. Also, Obina made it sound. They would lure Emeka to a hotel room, make it look like he was caught in the act, then blackmail him into silence. On the appointed evening, Nkem dressed simply, wrapped her scarf tightly, and prayed under her breath, "God, let this be the end of this shame." Obina held her hand like a supportive husband, whispered encouragement, and even carried her bag. When they entered the hotel room, Nkem's heart was thumping like village drum. She paced nervously. "Obi, are you sure about this?" "Relax," he suited. "I'll handle the camera. Just follow the plan." Minutes later, Emeka arrived, suspiciously but curious. "So what's this meeting about?" Before Nkem could answer, the doors burst open. Obina stormed in with two of his cousins behind him, holding phones, high recording. "See them. See what I've been telling you people," Obina shouted, pointing at his wife. "Look at the woman I'm married. Promiscuous, shameless." Nkem's blood froze. "What? Obina, what are you saying? This is not what we planned." One of the cousins laughed bitterly. "You mean you planned it? You think we don't know you're wayward?" "No, he told me." She turned to Obina, tears welling. "Obi, talk now. Tell them this is what you said I should do." Obina's face hardened like stone. "Me? God forbid. How can a man ask his wife to sleep with another? You're a disgrace, Nkem." The room erupted. Phones recorded. Cousins shouted. Emeka tried to speak, but his voice drowned under the chaos. The next day, the compound was electric. The videos had spread like Hamatan fire. Nkem, once admired, now was shamed like rapper. Neighbors hissed as she passed. So quiet, yet see the life she's living. Poor Obina, he married trouble. Ha! If marriage had refund policy. Mama Obina wailed dramatically, rolling on the floor. "My son's wife, sleeping with neighbor in hotel to fear." Nkem's parents were summoned. They arrived stiff with anger and humiliation. In front of the elders, Obina told his version of the story, painting himself as victims. He never once mentioned the test results, never once admitted the plan. "Your daughter has disgraced us." Mama Obina spat. "Bride price must be returned today." Nkem turned to Obina, eyes wide, voice shaking. "Obi, please tell them. Tell them this was your idea." But he looked away, cold, silent, a stranger in her husband's skin. Her parents wept. Her father's voice cracked as he said, "We cannot argue. A woman that cheats has no place in a man's house." They returned the bride price with trembling hands. Nkem stood there numb, watching her world collapse. Her little boy was pulled from her arms, carried away as if she was the enemy. She stretched out her hand, crying, "Come see my son," but nobody listened. Her parents dragged her home, whispering in her ears, "Quiet, you've shamed us enough." 2 weeks later, the news came. Obina had taken a new wife. The compound rejoiced as if evil had been removed. At last, they said, a proper woman to give him children. But Nkem knew better. She knew the man she married was no victim. He was the predator, actor, and betrayer rolled onto one, and now he was plotting again. For Obina, one child was not enough. He wanted more. And since his secret had to remain buried, he crafted a new, darker plan. One that would make the disgrace of Nkem look like a child's play. When Obina brought Amarachi into his life, he became a brand new man in the eyes of the world. To Mama Obina, he was redeemed. To the compound, he was restored. To himself, he was simply desperate because one child was not enough. And with his shame still chained inside him, he needed another way, a faster way, a darker way. They traveled to a nearby town for honeymoon, a modest hotel with fresh bed sheets and big air conditioning. Amarachi was glowing with excitement. "Obi, "Thank you for bringing me here," she said, holding his arms tightly. Obinna smiled, kissed her forehead, and said, "You deserve it, my wife." That night, they had dinner. Amarachi ate happily, not noticing how his eyes followed her every bite. He poured her juice, the color rich and bright. She drank, laughed, and soon her head grew heavy. "Obi, I don't know why I feel so sleepy," she murmured. "Rest, my love," he whispered, tucking her in. Minutes later, her breath deepened. She was gone. Obinna moved quickly. He slipped out of the hotel room and returned with a stranger, a man whose face was hidden by a cap. The deal was already made. The tax was simple, brutal, and unholy. As Amarachi lay unconscious, the man set up his phone and began recording. His voice was cold and mechanical. "Look at her, she's knocked out. Her husband paid me to do this because he cannot have children. He wants me to give her pregnancy." The lens caught her still form. Then his shadow leaned into the frame. He spoke again, louder. "This is his plan, not mine. Remember my words." The deed was done. The phone was switched off. The man left as quickly as he came. Obinna entered again, rearranged the room, adjusted the covers, and slipped into bed beside his wife. Morning broke. Amarachi yawned, stretched, and smiled. "Obi, I slept like a log. That food knocked me out." Obinna kissed her cheeks. "Yes, you were tired, but you're fine now." She laughed softly, never guessing what had happened in the night. To her, it was just a sweet beginning of a marriage. To Obinna, it was the ceiling of another life. Weeks later, Amarachi missed her period. She danced in the sitting room, hugging Obinna. "Obi, I think it has happened." He laughed with her, joy on his face, but inside his chest, pride and wicked relief sat like kings. The plan had worked again. The compound rejoiced when the news spread. "Our son is truly blessed. See how God restored a man when he marries right." They sang praises of Obinna, blind to the shadow behind his smile. Mama Obinna cooked jollof rice and sharing plates to neighbors. "This is proof my son is fruitful. Nobody can bring shame to our family again." Obinna nodded, lifting his cup of malt. "To more blessings," he said, and the crowd cheered, none the wiser. By the time Amarachi's pregnancy began to show, Obinna had become compound royalty. Neighbors hailed him with both hands, calling him Papa General. Mama Obinna's wrapper never stayed dry. She danced from dawn to dusk. "Did I not say it?" she shouted one evening, pounding yam like drum. When a man marries well, blessings flow. The other one was a curse. The compound echoed with gossip turned praise. Children carried the news like homework. Even the tailor started calling himself uncle to the fruitful man. Obinna wore it like a crown. Every handshake, every smile, every greeting felt like a medal. He had erased his shame, or so he thought. When Amarachi gave birth, it was another boy. The whole compound poured outside to dance. Obinna shared malt and granite. Mama shared palm wine, drum beats. Boys sang. But in the shadow of celebration, word spread. Nkem had called for a family meeting, not small corridor gist, real gathering with elders with both families present. Some muttered, "She wants to beg to come back." Others said she should be ashamed after what she did. The day came. Chairs were arranged under a mango tree in Nkem's father's compound. On one side sat Nkem's people, stiff with quiet dignity. Obinna swaggered in with Mama, Amarachi, and half his kindred. The air was tense. Nkem entered last, head held high, wrapper tied firmly. She didn't greet with fear. She greeted like a woman carrying thunder in her bag. "Why are we here?" one elder asked, folding his hands. Nkem's father cleared his throat. "My daughter says she has something to show. We will listen." All eyes turned. Nkem stepped forward, calm as a river. "For years, I carried shame that was not mine. I was disgraced, called names, thrown out. Today, I want truth to speak." From her handbag, she brought out a small phone. She pressed play. The screen lit up. A man's voice filled the air, rough and loud. "Look at her. She's unconscious. Her husband paid me to do this because he cannot have children. He wants me to give her pregnancy. This is his plan, not mine." Gabs sliced the gathering like machetes. Mothers clutched wrappers. Father shook heads. Amarachi's hands trembled. The camera showed Amarachi asleep on the bed, motionless, while the man repeated, "Her husband paid me. He cannot father children." The video ended. Silence hung like heavy smoke. Then all eyes turned to Obinna. his face drained of color. He opened his mouth, closed it, then opened again like generator trying to start. It's not what it looks like. Mama Obina slapped her chest. Jesus, my son, so all this while it was you. Her wrapper loosened. She tied it tighter, tears running down her cheeks. Why did you two tell me? Instead, you painted that poor girl black. The elders shook their heads. This is abomination. To betray your wife, to disgrace her in public, and then to deceive another woman. Abomination. Amarachi rose slowly, cradling her baby. Her voice shook, but her words were steady. If this is the man I married, I cannot stay. You are worse than the devil himself. Obina reached out for her hand. Amara waits. She stepped back, eyes burning. Don't touch me. Neighbors carried the story even before the meeting had ended. By nightfall, the whole compound knew Obina is impotent. Obina framed his wife. Obina deceived us all. Children who once sang his praises now mocked in reading. Papa, fruitless, hiding face, gave his wife public disgrace. Mama Obina sat in her room wailing, my shame, my shame. And then came, she stood taller than ever, not because she enjoyed his downfall, but because the truth had finally spoken. She walked out of that meeting without fear, her head held high, her dignity restored. Obina was left in the rubble of his lies, abandoned by Amarachi, disgraced before both family, and mocked by the same neighbors who once hailed him. He sat on his bed that night, head in his hand, fans swinging left and right like a judge shaking his head. For the first time, Obina felt the weight of silence, the silence of a man with no excuses left. Enkay, on the other hand, looked at her reflection and smiled faintly. At last, she whispered, because the truth, no matter how long it hides, will always find its way home. Some of the lessons to be learned from this story are: secrets in marriage always have long shadows. Desperation can lead to dangerous compromises. Hypocrisy always collapses. Truth restores dignity. The end. I hope you all enjoyed this wonderful masterpiece. If you're new on this channel, please do not forget to click on the subscribe button to support us. Turn on the post notifications so you'll be the first to know when I drop a new story. Like the story, leave us a comment on what you learned about the story, share the story to your loved ones, and I'll see you guys in the next one, my loves. Till then again, bye. Mwah.
Thank you so much for watching till the end. Please click on the subscribe button to support us. Turn on the post notification to get notified when I upload a new story. Like, share, and comment your thoughts. Till then, bye.